Hey guys, and welcome to our latest episode. I am inside my Ferrari California, and I've got to say, as you can see from the smile on my face, I am chuffed. I really didn't think I would enjoy this car as much as I am enjoying it, and I've got to say, this is a really impressive car. So as well as being impressive, there are a number of things that are wrong with the car, and as always, I've bought myself a problem car that needs to be fixed. But the difference with this one compared to what I've bought previously, if you remember the Aston Martin, that could not even drive. So that was just like, a complete basket case. The Bentley on RHT hadn't driven for 2 years, and I managed to get it back on the road, although it's still having problems. And now this Ferrari California, I can actually drive and use every day, despite all the problems that I'm having. But let me talk you through those problems so you can understand what it is that I've got here and what it is that I'm dealing with. So to understand the first problem, let me put it onto ignition and start the car. So you'll see on the display on the left-hand side, yep, we got a check engine light, we got a parking sensor failure, suspension control system failure. What else do we have? We got an airbag system failure. What else? Come on, is that it? You throwing anything more? And we do have a handbrake, parking brake failure. Oh, I think everybody said that one. But anyhow, so those are the issues that we're dealing with. Let me just talk about those with you. So let's talk about the shock absorbers first of all, because the 4 shock absorbers need changing. Now you might sort of think to yourself, that's not too bad. Yeah, in a Ferrari that's pretty bad, because it's not because there's anything complicated, it's just as complex as any other car, but the parts are really expensive. So to change all 4 shock absorbers, front and rear, is probably going to cost me around about £5,500–6,000, I'd say, for just the parts. It's not including labour, that is just the parts. So that's probably what, about $7,000–8,000, something like that. I mean, there is aftermarket available. I am a bit of a fan of keeping it original, just simply because I think it does create a lot of problems if it's not original. So yeah, so that's a big thing to start off with, and I have to get that done because I test drove the car, and the car was just shocking with the shocks that were in place. So that's something that I have to get done. The reason why the shock absorbers are so expensive is because it's a special Magna-Ride shock absorber system, and basically inside of the shock absorbers there's like a magnetic liquid. So what they do is they can charge magnets on the outside, I think it is, and it makes the suspension firmer and softer depending on what sort of electrical charge is being passed through. I don't know how it works. I mean, that's a real layman's explanation of how it actually works, but it makes the ride much better, so it can automatically adjust how firm the shock absorbers are in sort of milliseconds. So it's a really good system, but it's just damn expensive. The next issue is with regards to the shock absorber light itself. So as you saw a moment ago, the shock absorber light was on. There's no guarantee that will go off once I change the shock absorbers. Honestly, the shock absorbers need changing anyway. That is a separate issue, but it could well stay on, and then I have an additional problem to then figure out how to resolve. So that's kind of the second issue that I'm going to have to sort of think about. So the third issue is the check engine light, and quite frankly, that could be anything. It could literally be anything, and I'm going to have to go through step by step and diagnose it. Check on the computer first of all what's coming up, and then go through and diagnose it and try and figure out how to actually fix this particular problem. It drives okay, so on a day-to-day basis it doesn't really cause a problem, but it's something that does need to be fixed. I don't want it to develop into a bigger problem, and I want to enjoy the car, so I don't want it to be there. So something I'm going to have to look at. I've got a feeling that the car has been decatted, but I'm not entirely sure. So we're going to have to put it up on the ramp and check that, but I do want to have a look at that to see if that is the problem at all. So the next one is the parking brake light. Now, the guy who I bought it off, he told me this in the workshop that he had some work done from, they told me this as well, that the parking brake ECU needs changing. I'm hoping that it's not that. I'm hoping that actually the parking brake cable was changed, which it was. As far as I'm aware, the parking brake cable was changed, but I'm hoping that it was changed and it wasn't calibrated properly, it wasn't set up properly. So basically the way that it works on these Ferraris, and I'm not sure if it's the same for other cars, but what happens is you change the cable, and because it's an electronic parking brake, it has some slack in it. And then the system, the computer itself, once you attach it up to the diagnostics computer, it takes the slack out of the left cable, the right cable, and then you have to calibrate the parking brake itself. So it's a bit of a process. And I think it hasn't been set up correctly. That's what I've got my fingers crossed for anyway, but we'll see. So without a parking brake, what I have to do is I have to switch off the car and then let it go into park before I can exit the car, which takes about 10 seconds or 5 seconds, but you know, it's just annoying. And especially on a hill, I don't want to be parking it on just park, you know, I want to be using a brake. So I need to get that looked at and fixed. So number 5, it's the front bumper. So when I purchased the car, I knew that it had a little bit of damage on the front bumper. It wasn't anything major. Basically, I was told that a golf cart had hit the front of the Ferrari, which I'm presuming that that's true. It didn't look like it was car damage, to be honest with you. It just looked like a little bump, little scrape. Anyhow, I want to get that sorted out. I mean, it's a Ferrari after all, and I don't like things like that on my cars, so I do want to get that sorted out. So the front bumper needs to be repaired and then resprayed as well. The next thing is the tyres. So the car recently, I was looking through the paperwork, and I think in March this year, so only about 5 months ago, the car had new tyres fitted. All 4 tyres were changed, which you'd think, great, excellent. But they fitted on some random tyre. I mean, it is Z rated, but at the same time, it's a random tyre. And I don't want to be driving around on anything that's sort of random like that. So, yeah, needs to be changed probably. I do want to put on Michelin Club Sport tyres, similar to what I did on the Bentley Arnage. I want to fit on something proper. So yeah, so do want to do something like that. Next up is the roof itself. So the folding roof on these Californias can be problematic, and I spoke to the guy who owned the car, and he says no, the roof does work. I never tried it there. He said the roof does work, and the garage that we went to inspect it as, they've seen the car before. They said no, the roof doesn't work, it's got a problem, and the owner probably doesn't even know about it probably. So I've got a feeling it does have a problem. You might sort of think to yourself, how do you not know if the roof works or not if it's your own car? And basically what it comes down to is this is a really hot country. I mean, it's like 46 degrees today. I'm sitting in the car, I haven't got it on, I'm bloody hot. So, you know, in the summer you just don't use the roof. Probably there's only about 1 month of decent weather where you can actually use the roof, maybe a little bit more, but the point being is it's just too hot. I haven't used the roof myself because the thing that I'm worried about is that I'll use the roof and it'll get jammed, and then I'll have to manually put it up or down, and I'm just worried that the car will just be off the road as a result of it. So I will test the roof, but I'm going to wait until I've got my other car back, and then I can take this to the workshop and test it over there, and hopefully that will work. And last up, the potential problem within the gearbox. The one thing that keeps coming up is the gearbox, and you know, you always read on these forums and everything that, oh yes, the gearbox is bound to fail, it's a big problem, da 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 da. And yeah, I'm not convinced that it's an issue. Car drives absolutely fine, right? So I have no doubt that the gearbox itself is fine. So the next problem is actually this switch over here. So as you can see, that comes all the way up. It shouldn't do, it should only do that, but it comes all the way up. So to actually lift up the window, you actually have to reach underneath and click it from underneath. Pushing down is fine, but coming up. So it hasn't come off, but it does. But the annoying thing is that to change this, it seems to come with this as well. So it's a case of changing all of it, which is annoying, but I could live with it, to be honest with you. I could live with it, but you know, if I can find one of these, but I imagine to then get access to take this all out is not an easy thing, so we'll have to see. And the final thing is actually the boots. So if I click that and open it, it will open up, which is all fine. Okay, so I get access to the boot. Then when I close it, I let it go. So it's supposed to auto pull itself down. It doesn't do that. But then the bigger problem is it then says on the display that the boot is open, but the boot's not open. But it won't be fully closed. So I think then what I have to do is, you see how there's a little bit of movement there? So what I then have to do, and because there's no button of course on the boot, that would just be too easy, I then have to use the key to unlock it. And then, aha, it just actually pulled it down there. So normally I don't hear it pull it down, but today I did. So anyhow, I need to get that sorted out too. So here we're looking at the Diagnostics computer, and I thought I'd just plug it in and have a look. There's probably a lot of old codes on here as well, so I'm going to take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt, but we'll get a bit of an idea. So the first thing, right hand engine ECU master abnormal. So it's giving timing variator max out of range, catalyst system efficiency below threshold. So the intake timing, that's a little bit of a worry. I mean, I hope that's just a sensor rather than actually the timing chain itself. It's possible that it's stretched, and we'll have to look into that a bit more detail. And then left-hand engine ECU slave abnormal, refer to manual, okay, and then catalyst. So we'll see what that is. I'm not going to sort of diagnose this right now. Let's just have a look and see what comes up. The Bosch Premium System ABS, so that's all ABS related stuff, and we'll look into that in a bit more detail. So now we've got one for the airbag system, front driver head airbag first stage open circuit. I think that's maybe an earth or something like that. I mean, it's not been involved in any major accidents, so I'm not too worried. I just need to get that looked at and sorted out. Body computer module. Now I think that this is to do with possibly the suspension. Might be to do with the suspension itself. Delphi climate control, valve error, fan error, valve error. So it looks like maybe a stuck valve or something like that. We'll have to have a look at that. Parking brake. So we see the parking brake on EPB, electronic parking brake system calibration error. Mechanical actual calibration. In fact, I think we've got some more on the next screen. Yeah, so here we can see more about the parking brake. So we've got the system calibration, invalid message from CAN line, no communication with ESP module, no communication with body computer module, invalid message. Okay, a lot of different things there to relate to the parking brake, and we'll have to have a look at that. Something with the gearbox, master power relay commands too high. Okay, not entirely sure what that is, but we'll monitor that. And parking sensors, left hand internal sensor. So the front parking sensor is not working. And then the final thing that we see at the bottom over there is to do with suspension module, left hand rear coil shock absorber. So that gives us an idea of what's on the system. I am going to reset them because I've got a feeling some of these may well be old, and then we'll see what comes up, but we'll look at that in another video. So let me know what you think. Have I bought myself another basket case, or is it actually a decent car? So personally, I think it's okay. I don't think it's too bad, but let me know what you think in the comment section below. I don't care if you offend me and you think it's a basket case. Just say it as it is. Anyhow, I'll catch you in the next episode, and I'll be showing more on this Ferrari in the next one too. Take care, all the best.